All right, let's get it. We're gonna share a book called The Astral Body by A. E. Powell. The Astral Body and Other Psychic Phenomenons from 1927. Now, if we are not familiar with the fact that we live on multiple dimensions, then pretty soon you're gonna have to get used to that. Why? Because number one, you do zone out and go to different mental zones. You do live in your dreams. You are more so dead here on the physical, and we'll give some additional books that speak about that, such as the Nag Hammadi Library, such as let's see here, you got everything from the Cosmic Doctrine by Dion Fortune. You have the Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot, or Michael Talbot, Talbot, I believe. But anyway, let's get straight to this because this is some really, profound stuff, let alone it'll help you make sense of how people are infected, if you will, by spirits, whether they be from a TV show, whether they be from a movie. You can go back to movies like Fallen. You can go and look at how when TV shows come out, people start naming their children consistently through mental programming and through accepting different spirits that they have no clue about. They essentially start naming their own children after the characters of the show. Even prior to them having those children, you'll start to notice that many children and many people start acting like the characters on the shows that they like. Okay, and that's another example of spirit possession. So, once again, a good example with children today, of the past, doesn't matter, is look at the cartoons that they watch, and you will see that they mimic the mannerisms and such. They mimic the idiosyncrasies. Not trying to use big words, y'all. They mimic the idiosyncrasies, whatever. We'll get that word straight. um, but you'll notice that their mannerisms, the way that they act, the little things that they do, the way that they might laugh or respond to things are directly from what they watch. My grandmother gave some really good examples of her Aunt Mamie, which was her name. This is people born in that same time. 1927 was around the time just before the Great Depression. Um, Another example of the United States going bankrupt. If you need to understand that they're a corporation, go to Title 28, USC 3002, Section 15, and A, B, and C will tell you very directly that you're dealing with a corporation. And we all know who's quote unquote selling off the pieces of that defunct, insolvent, bankrupt corporation. The land is not the corporation, people. So, astral entities and the human. Now, I'm not going to read this verbatim. He gives you a very good key, and I'm not saying this is perfect, but it gives you something to work with. So he's talking about people that are physically alive. The so-called ordinary person, the psychic person, which is a category, the adept, another category, and the black magician. This black does not equate to the black that is on the census, nor does it equate to just African American. Okay? This is a whole different level of what really, at the end of the day, is a melanated being that can utilize its melanin. That is what black magician and black magic really comes down to. The physically dead person includes the ordinary person, as you see. Then you have the shade. You have a shell. You have a vitalized shell. You have some other subcategories that he goes into, and I will leave that to you to do your own research based on your curiosities. All right. I'm not going to get too much into some of these non-human. The artificial still kind of is touched on, if you will, but I'm going to draw your attention to certain things. All right. He starts breaking down the human class based on physically alive. He goes into that, and you'll need to do your own research, into that. I'm going to call your attention directly to some of the alive people, such as the Black Magician, and he speaks about somewhat to that of the adept and his pupil, except that the development has been for evil instead of good. I'm highlighting this right now. Evil versus good is completely subjective. It is a part of polarity. So if we were to, on a piece of paper, draw a line, matter of fact, let's see here. If I were to draw a line, and here's our line right here. Let's make this some type of color we can work with here. So we got a line. Right there we got polarity on either side. Let's just make left evil and right good. Well, guess what? This is one object. It's one object I'm moving around, people. So at that point, whether you say the center point is neutral, left is evil, and right is good, it's all one thing. All right? I will suggest to you to go get the Kybalion, and that should be Kyabillon, or look up the 7 Hermetic Principles. You'll be able to find it. 7 Hermetic Principles. Correspondence, polarity, gender, cause and effect, mentalism, vibration, rhythm, okay? But this is polarity. They're one whole, it's polar. Polar. Out of darkness comes light. Okay? It's still showing you the same thing. So even according to A.E. Powell, you don't need to accept what anybody says. You're going to learn it through your own experiences. So he's saying that the development was for what he feels is evil instead of good. The powers acquired being used for selfish instead of for altruistic purposes. Now, I'm not going to get deep into this portion right here, but when he talks about that, realistically, he had his own agenda. So if he feels that you're worried about yourself, then it's selfish. Guess what? Ain't nobody else saving you. The only thing that you're going to get is what you understand through your own experiences. So the books, the references, the cross references, your own thoughts, you're going to have to figure it out for yourself. No one else will be able to ever give you the answer straight up. Okay? Even if they tell you the straight up answer, you will only get it when you figure it out for yourself, when you have some type of experience, aha moment, some type of, situation where you can go in and say, I felt this, thought that, realized this afterwards, went into it with this mindset, came out of it with another mindset. And then you can track your polarity of being in darkness and bringing forth the light of knowledge or understanding. But guess what? It was still there in the darkness. It was still a part of the darkness. It was still a part of, what other people don't understand. So that's their darkness. It's evil to them if they don't get why this heaven and this earth shall pass away. All right. So we're going to skip a lot of things. And if you'll have access to this document. It's not a big deal. He goes into some things that are really specific there that you probably want to read up about, such as the shade. Now, I'm going to skip to the shade, and I'm going to go straight in. This astral corpse, known as a shade, is an entity which is not in any sense the real individual at all. Nevertheless, it bears his exact personal appearance, possesses his memory, and all his little idiosyncrasies. It may therefore very readily be mistaken for him or her. Let's not play games, people. Now, I'm going to give you some movies, some shows on Netflix that you can go check out. You'll see the same concepts. And if you're not familiar with the fact that on the earth plane, everything is based on mental concepts and how you define them for yourself, then you will want to go back to the 7 Hermetic principles and see mentalism. The universe is mind, and mental is everything. Okay? So, some of the TV shows you can look up on Netflix, on Amazon, would be things like The Feed, Transfers, Nightflyers, I think it's The Residue. Hell, go back to the TV show Supernatural. Have fun. Okay? They're just concepts, people. There's writers that chose to show you these concepts in a specific way. You got directors who chose how to show you angles and energies and colors. You got cinematographers who focus a little bit more on the visual aspect. You got sound designers who focus on how the energy hits your ears. And yeah, you might want to go, kind of look up how melanin works with the ears. All right. You got plenty of people that's been working with you for years, doing their work, telling you about different konnncepts, so that you can figure out things for yourself. You see what I'm saying? Now, if you're not meant for it, then, you won't figure it out. If you find yourself curious, everything we're showing you are Google words. Things that you should be, hey Google, hey Alexa, hey Siri, Google this word for me. I don't know what seance means. So just Google it. Now, if you don't want to know, or if you're not motivated enough, you ain't going to get the knowledge. Plain and simple. All right? But you're dealing with a lot of people on Earth, over 8 billion. Most of them don't have souls. I'm not here to play games with nobody about that. Okay? It says, it is not conscious of any act of impersonation. For as far as its intellect goes, it must necessarily suppose itself to be the individual. It is in reality merely a soulless bundle of all his lowest qualities. For everybody that might have a problem with the fact that there's 8 billion people on this earth and less than whatever percentage has souls, whoever wants to get scary about it, have some type of ooga booga moments, you know what I'm saying? Tuck yourself in bed a little bit tighter at night because it's fucking on. All right? The length of life of a shade varies according to the amount of the lower mental matter which animates it. Okay, that's not something that you're just going to quantify, and yeah, you might want to go read up on what the soul is and figure it out for yourself too. But it's steadily fading out. Last time I checked, there's some race, or there's some shades of human specimens, physical bodies that aren't reproducing too well anymore. You can figure that out as well. Its intellect is a diminishing quantity. Therefore, or though it may possess a great deal of a certain amount of animal cunning, and even quite towards the end of its career, it is still able to communicate by borrowing temporary intelligence from the medium. I'm going to give you another book. Go look up the Psychic Vampire Codex, and you'll find some really good shit in there too. All right? The Psychic Vampire Codex. From its very nature, it is exceedingly liable to be swayed by all kinds of evil influences. Let's just focus on it being influenced, overrun, mentally overloaded, programmed, etc. All right? And being separated from its higher ego, I'll give you another good book that you can go look up and find, which would be G.A. Gaskell, Gaskell, G.A. Gaskell, Gaskell, once again, Gaskell. The book is Dictionary of All Scriptures and Myth. So there you can go look up what higher ego means. All right, you can still Google the keyword. All right, it has nothing in its constitution. Constitution means its mental makeup or the structure, the order, the structure and flow of a thing in its own existence. Whether it's a concept, whether it's a human being, whether it's a set of laws called the Constitution, it doesn't matter. Everything has a structure and a flow. So I'm going to repeat this. Okay? From its very nature, it is exceedingly liable to be swayed by all kinds of influences. And being separated from its higher ego, it has nothing in its constitution capable of responding to the good ones. It therefore lends itself readily to various minor purposes of the baser sort of black magicians. We can drop this in simplicity. Through the aura, such as stories talked about, in the Bible, the garment that cannot be ripped, the Taurus field, these are your aura. You can mentally control low-level spirit energies around you, whether it's in a body or not. Because if it comes into your aura or if it's touched by your aura, the higher rules over the lower. And on earth, as in heaven, you can control your situation. Now, just being very simple and direct, mind over matter, the mental matter it possesses. So if it doesn't have the higher mental, the higher ego, it cannot control itself. Watch the people around you. Just sit back and watch the people around you. Watch how they respond to things. The mental matter it possesses gradually disintegrates and returns to the general matter of its own plane. The shell goes into some other elements of a man's astral corpse and in the later stages of disintegration. Okay? Even yet, it may be galvanized for a few moments into a ghastly burlesque of life. You might want to look up words that you may not know. You may want to understand that galvanized and burlesque, you know what I'm saying? And you'll come to understand how it's imbued with certain energies, programmed, how it's stoked, how it's overloaded, how alkaline water is still charging your body, things of that nature, okay? Game time is over, y'all. Game time been over. But it's not just a day, month, year. It's not just a century or a decade, okay? This whole situation works different than people think it does. This earth is not what you think it is, okay? Under such circumstances, it will still exactly resemble its departed personality in appearance and may even reproduce to some extent his familiar expressions or handwriting. It has also the quality of being still blindly responsive to such vibrations. For everybody who wants to talk about good vibes, higher vibrations. That's great that you know those words, but you're going to have to get to know them a lot better and understand how you really work and who you really are. Okay? So it has also the quality of being still blindly responsive to such vibrations, usually of the lowest order. This is your TV shows on Netflix, y'all. This is your Miss Universe being crowned. It's not to diss nobody. Miss Universe might be a lovely woman, All right. She might have a soul and this, that, and the third. But you got to remember the way things are presented to you can be taken in any way that the person receiving it is capable of. I don't have to repeat that. Fuck that bullshit. All right. The vitalized shell. This entity is not strikingly, strictly speaking, human. Nevertheless, it is classified here because of its outer vesture. A vitalized shell is always malevolent, according to him. All right, you need to look for yourself. It is a true tempting demon whose evil influence is limited only by the extent of its power. Like the shade, it is frequently used in voodoo and obey forms of magic. You still got to get to know yourself, people. You still got to get to know yourself. So here's some information that you can obviously use. The PDF will be linked. Check it out as you see fit, and roll from there.